Hi all, welcome to What's Jelly. So, have you ever wondered why can't you buy a Rolex in the store? And 3 things an authorized dealer wants to tell you, but can't. Today, we will shed some light on why you are probably unlikely to find the sports models of your dreams in the authorized dealer. So, many enthusiasts are speculating as to why they are unable to purchase Rolex stainless steel sports models that they want at their authorized Rolex dealers and boutiques. Theories run wild, from Rolex creating artificial shortages to authorized dealers hiding them in their vaults. Well, these are somewhat inaccurate urban myths. So, let's define what a sports model is. Well, in Rolex terms, basically they are Submariners, GMTs, Daytonas, etc. Datejust and Oyster Perpetuals are not exactly sports models, but because of their aesthetic and their similarly accessible price ranges, they could be grouped loosely in that category as well. So, let's dive in. The first point, demand and supply. The actual reason for that shortage is the incredibly high demand for Rolex right now. In any given year, Rolex will only manufacture a certain percentage more watches than they did the prior year. And with the surging of demand for Rolex, let's put a number to 20 to 30%. And if supply only increases a mere fraction of that, of course a shortage occurs. On the point of controlling supply or production, by gradually increase its production each year, instead of rapidly ramping up based on the whims of the market, brands like Rolex enjoys controlled growth and stability. As a retailer, for example an authorized dealer or a jeweler, of course they wish they could have an abundance of highly sought after pieces when clients want them, because it would mean more happy customers and more sales. However, watch companies that have dramatically increased their production in the past to match a market fervor are in a tough spot historically. To give you an example, many Swiss watchmakers have overproduced before the downturn in the 2000s. And in 2008, the market was flooded with high-end watches for years, which reduces collectability. Rolex's long strategy of controlled growth, and in contrast, has made its watches hold their value extremely well, and while maintaining stringent quality and control standards. This has been very comforting for those who have owned Rolex watches over the years before. Point number 2, new requirements likely to kick off in 2022. So, if you haven't already known, Patek Philippe and Rolex are 2 of the most powerful brands in watches today. Earlier this year, Patek Philippe has replicated Rolex's strategy of placing hard-to-get sports models like the new Aquanaut with chronograph on display, but not for sale. What Patek Philippe has also announced is that it is going to make it mandatory for authorized dealers or jewelers to carry a minimum holding of watches to be displayed. This means that an authorized dealer will first have to hold a minimum quota of Patek Philippe watches for display before being able to sell watches in excess of said minimum quota to its customers. To give you an example, if the minimum quota is 50 watches per authorized dealer per store, this means that this specific authorized dealer has to hold 51 watches in their store before being able to sell 1 watch to a customer. Given how Patek Philippe and Rolex tend to replicate each other's strategies over the last year or so, it is only a matter of time that Rolex mandates a similar minimum quota strategy from the authorized dealer it works with. And if this is successful, this means that there will be more watches on display when you walk into a store, but not necessarily being able to purchase it. Point number 3, selling directly to grey market dealers. So, to share a personal experience of mine, is that I've personally heard from a grey market dealer based in Kuala Lumpur in 2019, where he owns a physical store in Kuala Lumpur city centre. My friend and I went on a trip to Kuala Lumpur to purchase a watch. He openly admitted back then where he makes almost monthly trips to places like Europe, where he would be able to purchase highly sought after pieces directly from these authorized dealers through, under the table transactions, of course, before bringing back to Kuala Lumpur and selling them at the appropriate grey market price, which are anywhere from 30% to 120% premium of the recommended retail price. These grey market dealers are usually regulars of such authorized dealers themselves, or these grey market dealers simply have extremely good connections to be able to acquire such pieces and also turn a profit when selling it at the grey market. In Singapore, where I am based, authorized dealers like Hourglass, no, this is not a sponsored video, has maintained a very strict approval process in selling its watch pieces. Unless you are a regular who has made multiple prior purchases of non-popular sports models, it is virtually impossible to get allocated a popular Rolex sports model, Datejust or Oyster Perpetual. The same applies for Patek Philippe and even Tudor, simply because specific models have such a lucrative grey market. These are the 3 reasons why it's difficult for you to purchase highly sought after pieces in an authorized dealer. I hope this helps you understand why you can't really buy a Rolex at the store, and 3 things that an authorized dealer wants to tell you but can't quite really. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Do also like this video and give us a thumbs up if you would like me to explain and talk you through on how to increase your chances on getting allocated a popular Rolex sports model at an authorized dealer in my next video upload. In the meantime, stay safe and keep watching Jelly.